So I recently re-watched the Tournament Element season of Ninjago, and can I just say, I forgot just how good this season was. Besides from just the tournament aspect, which was obviously the best part of the season, the other aspects of the season were all amazing as well. All of the main ninja got at least some sort of character development, whether it was small or big. The main villain of the season also goes down as one of the best in Ninjago's history, and of course, it completely changed Ninjago forever. Alright, so the place that I want to start with is the first episode, which was because I just thought it was a really good opening to this season. We got to see how the death of Zane broke the ninja team apart, and that also allowed us to see the different sides to the ninjas' personalities, like how Jay is just a natural entertainer, and how Cole just wants to be alone, and how Kai just fights and drinks his sorrows away. Anyway, once all of the ninja get back together, one of my favourite scenes from this season occurs, the Noodle House fight. I mean, it was just such a fun fight. I love how they just threw food all over the place. It was just so cool. Anyway, that leads us into the rest of the season, where the ninja learn that Zane is still alive, and that Master Chen has invited them to the Tournament of Elements. So that brings up the first way of how this season changes Ninjago forever, and that is of course with the introduction of the Elemental Masters. I mean, these guys are just so cool, right? They were just all such unique characters, and we got to see some really cool elements like the Master of the Mind for Neuro, and the Master of Metal being Karloff, and of course Skylar, the Master of Amber. So let's start with Skylar, because she is obviously the best new Elemental Master that got introduced in this season. Firstly, I just wanted to talk about her powers because I'm actually quite mixed on them. On one hand, they did make her feel very overpowered at times, as she could, use any of the elemental powers that she just wanted to, as long as she touched someone that, had that elemental power. But then again, the show never really showed us her full potential. For example, you would have thought that it would be easy for Skylar to evade Chen and his army when they were after her to complete the spell back in episode 8, because she literally has the ability to look like anyone else and also to literally turn invisible, making it impossible to find her. But no, she instead just runs away on some hoverboard. Anyway, on the other hand, I do like her powers because they are just cool in it. Anyway, we also can't talk about Skylar without talking about her relationship with Kai. And to be honest, I think Kyla, or whatever you want to call it, is a very overrated ship, because I don't know about you, there weren't really too many scenes by the last scene where we see these two in the season that makes me think there was really anything romantic going on between them, apart from the fact that Kai just had a huge crush on her. And it kind of felt like the show just kind of forced the relationship in our face, if you get what I mean. But anyway, I do like the two on screen together, I have to say, especially in this season, but I just don't think this ship really works. And the last Skylar subtopic that I have to talk about in this video is her being a spy and Chen's daughter. So I actually kind of like this mini subplot, because when it first got revealed in the show, my 7-year-old self was mind blown. But if you really look at it, it didn't really end up going anywhere, because it got revealed in episode 5. Then the next episode she turned on Kai, and then one episode after that she was back onto the good guy side. It would have been more interesting to actually see her on her dad's side for at least 2 full episodes before she turned on him, but I mean, it didn't really ruin the season at all, or her character, so I don't really care all that much. And now I want to move on to Kai in this season. So this season is technically a Kai season, but it doesn't really feel like that at times. It kind of feels like a Lloyd season at times, or maybe even a Cole season. But anyway, Cole's in the box, so we've got to go with that. Anyway, for a Kai season, Kai really didn't get all that much development, to be honest. I mean, at the start of this season, he was sad about Zane dying, and he managed that by fighting skeletons in a pub. And that was a pretty decent starting point for Kai this season. He could have been motivated to find Zane and maybe even win the tournament as well, but no, for the rest of the season, they pretty much just focus on Kai having a massive crush on Skylar. And this doesn't really have much to do with Kai, but other than that one time when all of the ninja lied on Kai's bed, they never really even mentioned Zane again, let alone even tried to find him again. Cole just found him by basically on a freak accident. It honestly wouldn't have surprised me if the ninjas just left the island without ever looking for Zane again. Anyway, back with Kai, I guess I wasn't completely telling the truth when I said that the only thing Kai did in this season was simp for Skylar, because after like the midpoint of the season, he did go like 1000 IQ and got close to Chen so he could turn on him and destroy the staff, and then he immediately just went back to simping for Skylar. But I will say though, it was quite funny that Kai just left Nia and Garmadon to be eaten by Klaus's snake. I mean, he didn't know that Cole and Jay were gonna come just in time to kill it. So let's now talk about who I think the actual main character of this season is, Lloyd. So Lloyd started this season trying to bring the ninja team back together, and he easily did that in the very first episode. And then for the rest of the season, I guess Lloyd also didn't really do all that much. I, however, did like how we got to spend some quality time with Garma Daddy, because I think Lloyd and Garmadon are one of the best duos in the show's history. Anyway, I guess you could also say that Lloyd won the Tournament of Elements as well, so good for him, I guess. But now onto a character that was actually really good this season, Garmadon. I mean, where do I even start? It was so cool to actually learn about some of the things that happened when Garmadon was just starting to turn evil, but obviously wasn't completely evil yet. Like, that just made this season so much better, because for me personally, a villain just becomes instantly 10 times more interesting when they have some kind of personal connection to the main protagonist. It also just made Garmadon so much more interesting. He just dropped so many bits of lore, like when he mentioned how Chen made him sign a letter to Misako that Wu wrote, which made Misako choose Garmadon over Wu, and then even small things like how Garmadon got his Lord title from Master Chen. I bet some of you may have even missed that. And of course, how could I talk about Garmadon without talking about his sacrifice at the end of the season? Even just re-watching it recently, it almost brought a tear to my eye. And it was also just such a nice way to send off one of the best characters in the entire history of Ninjago. And now for one of the most underrated characters of this season, Cole. So this season really changed Cole completely for the rest of the series, and let me tell you why. So from just watching seasons 1 to 3, what could you even say Cole's personality is? Because the only thing I can even think of is that he's like a gym bro and he loves food. But season 4 just completely changed that. So let's first talk about his fight with Jay. So firstly, this fight was quite good. They both got to put their feelings out there, and it allowed them to finally make up with each other. And then at the end of the fight, Cole wins. He takes the Jade Blade, but then he throws it to Jay, so he progresses instead of him. When he knows full well that now he will be locked up and his powers will be taken from Master Chen. So this is, from what I can tell, the first instance from the show that just shows how good of a guy Cole is. And now that Cole is locked up in Chen's noodle factory throughout the rest of the ninja, we also just get to see Cole by himself a little bit, and this just made me like Cole even more. I mean, how cool was his first escape plan when he literally swung on a rope made out of noodles to get the key to the cells? That was just so epic. And then after Cole escaped his prison cell and made it to Zane, instead of leaving, he went back and almost died just to save some people who, let's be honest, probably didn't even really like him that much, because all of the Elemental Masters hated the ninja at the start, but he still went back to help them escape regardless. This also just showed Cole being a true leader for the first real time since the pilots, with the way he brought everyone together to find a way to escape. This season basically set up Cole for his arcs in Master of the Mountain, and then in Dragon's Rising Season 1 with the Finders. Thinking about it, Cole was really good in this season, and it really did shape him into the character that we know and love today. And now I just also wanted to quickly mention Zane. So obviously Zane, he looks a little bit different in this season as he rebuilt himself, and now he is fully titanium, and I just love that look, by the way. And anyway, when actually analyzing this season, I was kind of surprised by how little screen time Zane actually got. We only saw a scene or two with him in prison where he forgot who he was, and then he just managed to escape, and he put Pixel in his head, And apart from his escape with Cole, he literally does nothing until the Day of the Dragon episode, where he finally conquers the Ice Dragon that had been stuck in his head. So yeah, for a season that probably should have focused a fair bit on Zayn, because you know, he died in the last season, they actually kind of ended up barely focusing on him, which I just wanted to quickly mention. Anyway, I just also want to quickly mention Jay, because he didn't actually do much in this season, and to be fair, Nia didn't really do anything either, apart from becoming a Kabuki. So the last character we need to talk about is one of my favorites, and that is of course Master Chen. So Master Chen is one of the best Ninjago villains ever, maybe even the best. And that is just because he was just so entertaining to watch. He is probably the best comedic Ninjago villain we have gotten. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. And that was just pretty refreshing. And I just loved his personality overall. I also like how they gave him no redeemable qualities whatsoever, because it just shows how evil he truly is. So much to the point where he doesn't even care about hurting his own daughter. They also showed off his manipulation really well, like how he manipulates Skylar and then Garmadon to sign the letter to Misako, and then of course how he basically played everyone like a fiddle during the Serpentine Wars. And speaking of the Serpentine Wars, if he didn't basically start the entire war, the whole of Ninjago would have actually played out very differently, because Lloyd never would have opened the Serpentine tombs, because there wouldn't have even been any Serpentine tombs to be opened to begin with. And with that, Lloyd may have never ended up living with the ninja, and maybe Lloyd would have never found out that he was the Green Ninja. That's just something to think about. Anyway, I also like that they gave us such a big and important backstory for him as well. They also didn't just make him looking an idiot, like how comic relief characters usually are portrayed. That they actually made Chen look very smart. Like how I mentioned before, he manipulates people to get what he wants, and he also tricks the entire Elemental Alliance into separating with those doodle trucks. And I'm sure there are just so many more examples that I've forgotten about. Chen is just such a fantastic villain, and we'll need to see more like him in Ninjago. So before I wrap this video up, I also just wanted to talk about some of the stuff I enjoyed about this season. So obviously, the Elemental Masters, they were awesome. They were all really cool and unique, and I actually managed to flesh out quite a lot of them really well, except Ash of course. And yeah, some of their powers are pretty stupid, like Shadow and Light are practically the same thing, but for the most part, they were pretty good. I also wanted to talk about the fights, because they were just so good in this season, and a lot better than Tournament of Sorcerers fights. I mean, each fight took place in a different part of the island, and we actually got to see all of the Elemental Masters fight, instead of just seeing snippets like a certain tournament season. Also, the variation in fights were quite good as well. There are of course arena fights, there are volcano fights, there are fights in a tree, and my personal favourite, the roller skating fight. That honestly just may be my favourite episode of the season. So yeah, I think that is everything that I wanted to talk about with this season. And yeah, this season really did have an effect on the entire history of Ninjago, and also the future of it as well. At least more so than most other seasons. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on this season. What did you like? What didn't you like? And I've got some more season reviews in this playlist on the screen right now, so if you wanted to check it out, by all means, please do so. See you later, be Ninja.